When we take a long, honest look at our lives, the results, the relationships, the income, the progress, we must begin by asking a powerful question. What is all of this built upon? And the answer, whether we like it or not, is always the same. It's you. You are the foundation of every result in your life. Not your job, not your past, not the economy, you. The quality of your life will never exceed the quality of the person you become. Everything starts with the builder, not the building. The structure only stands tall when the foundation beneath it is solid, disciplined, and deeply rooted. Think about it. A person with a weak foundation might stumble into success for a moment, but it won't last. You can't build a mansion on sand and expect it to stand through the storms. That's what many people try to do. They chase opportunity. They hunt for shortcuts. They want the rewards without ever taking time to build the inner strength that can sustain those rewards. And when pressure comes, as it always does, their life starts to shake and often crumble. But the person who has built themselves from the inside out, who has developed the character, the mindset, the self-control, the consistency, that person doesn't just chase success. They attract it, they sustain it, they multiply it, because here's the truth. Everything in your outer world is a mirror of your inner world. If your inner world is chaotic, undisciplined, distracted, guess what your results will reflect? Chaos, inconsistency, and lack of progress. But if your inner world is focused, intentional, humble, and full of purpose, your results will eventually follow in the same direction. You might not see it overnight, but time always reveals who has been doing the work on themselves. Time is the great equalizer. It shows who's been laying bricks and who's just been painting over the cracks. The foundation is your thinking, your habits, your daily standards, your ability to say no to comfort and yes to growth, your willingness to show up even when motivation is nowhere in sight. It's easy to work when everything is going right, but your foundation is really revealed when nothing is going right. When the motivation fades, when nobody's cheering, when you're tired, discouraged, and tempted to quit. That's when the real foundation shows itself. Are you built on discipline or distraction? Are you built on principles or convenience? Your foundation is how you talk to yourself when no one's listening. It's how you manage your time when no one's watching. It's the little decisions you make each day that nobody celebrates. Do you hit snooze or do you rise with purpose? Do you scroll endlessly or do you study, reflect, and prepare? These choices may seem small, but they build something. They build you or they break you. You don't become a leader in public without first leading yourself in private. You don't become successful in front of the world unless you've done the work when the world wasn't watching. The size of your foundation determines the size of your future. If you try to build a skyscraper on a small foundation, it will collapse. But if you take the time to dig deep, to reinforce your values, your purpose, your identity, then you can rise as high as you're willing to go. You'll find that the world opens up for those who have done the internal work, not because the world favors them, but because they're finally prepared to handle it. If you're frustrated with where you are, the most powerful thing you can do is stop pointing outward and start looking inward. The people who succeed in every area, business, relationships, finances, health, they don't just change their tactics. They change themselves. They understand that you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. If you want more, you must become more. If you want a better life, you must build a better you. The real breakthrough doesn't come from a new strategy, a new tool, or a new opportunity. It comes when you realize that you are the opportunity. And if you build yourself with intention, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, you will outgrow every limitation that once held you back. You will step into a future that is not just bigger, but stronger, more stable, and more fulfilling, because it is built on a foundation that cannot be shaken. That foundation is you, and when you upgrade you, everything else in your life rises with it. One of the greatest mistakes people make is pouring all their energy, all their hours, all their effort into their job, while neglecting the most important investment they'll ever make, themselves. It's an easy trap to fall into. Society praises hard work, long hours, sacrifice for success, and there's nothing wrong with working hard. But working hard at the wrong thing, or only working hard externally while neglecting your internal growth, that's a recipe for burnout, frustration, and feeling like you're running in circles. The real tragedy is when someone gives their best to their boss, their job, their duties, but gives their leftovers to their own future. Your job may pay the bills, but it's your growth that builds wealth. Your job might offer security, but it's your development that creates freedom. If you work harder on your job than you do on yourself, you may earn a living, but you'll never design a life. Because your real value isn't found in the hours you trade. It's found in the person you become through the hours you invest in yourself. You can show up at the office every day, check all the boxes, follow all the routines, but if you're not growing, you're decaying. If you're not feeding your mind, sharpening your character, stretching your comfort zone, you're quietly drifting away from your potential. People often wonder why they feel stuck, why their income is flat, their relationships are shallow, their energy is low. And they start looking for external fixes, a new job, a different city, a new environment. But none of that matters if you don't change, because you carry yourself wherever you go. If you don't raise your standards, your new job will soon feel just like your old one. If you don't build discipline, your new plan will eventually collapse like the last one. Nothing truly changes until you change. That's why it's so important to shift your focus from only working on the job to consistently working on you. Now, working on yourself isn't glamorous. It doesn't always come with applause or recognition. It's quiet. It's personal. It's choosing to read when others are watching TV. It's choosing to listen to ideas that stretch you instead of opinions that distract you. It's writing down goals that nobody sees. It's practicing gratitude when it's easier to complain. It's replacing old habits that no longer serve you with new ones that push you forward. It's all the little invisible things that don't pay you today, but multiply your value for tomorrow. Because the market doesn't pay you for the hours you work. It pays you for the value you bring, and that value doesn't come from working harder. It comes from becoming smarter, clearer, more disciplined, more emotionally strong, more strategic. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you take your own growth seriously, when you begin to treat yourself as your most important project. Your most important business, your most important client. The reason some people seem to rise no matter the economy, no matter the challenge, no matter the conditions, is because they made a decision early on to invest in themselves daily. While others were just clocking in and clocking out, they were expanding their mind, building new skills, learning how to lead, learning how to think. And eventually, that internal wealth became external results. You see, life has a way of rewarding those who prepare, who sharpen themselves when no one's asking, who show up as the best version of themselves long before the world gives them a stage. And here's the part that most people miss. When you work on yourself, everything else becomes easier. Your job becomes easier because you're more effective. Your relationships improve because you're more present, more intentional. Your finances grow because you're now more valuable. You stop needing motivation from outside sources because you've built momentum from the inside. You stop relying on luck and start operating with leverage. And that leverage is personal growth, the compound interest of becoming a better thinker, a better decision maker, a better leader, a better human. So ask yourself honestly, how many hours a week do you give to your job, and how many do you give to you? How many books have you read this month? How many new ideas have you explored? How many moments of stillness have you used to reflect, to reset, to realign? How much time do you give to building your future versus reacting to your present? Because the answers to those questions will tell you exactly why your life looks the way it does and what needs to change. The results you desire don't live at your job. They live in your daily disciplines. Your job is simply a vehicle. But your mindset, your health, your clarity, your drive, those are the engine, and the better you become, the more powerful that engine becomes. That's why the real winners in life don't chase titles. They chase transformation. They don't wait to be promoted. They promote themselves daily through learning, discipline, vision, and self-mastery. Because they understand that the most important job they'll ever have is working on themselves. People are often waiting for some massive breakthrough. They wait for a big moment that changes everything. A new job offer, a lucky opportunity, a windfall that changes their future overnight. But real success doesn't usually come in those grand, dramatic moments. It comes quietly. It sneaks in through the back door, disguised as small daily decisions. And those decisions, though seemingly insignificant at the time, are what ultimately shape your destiny. 1% better every day may not sound like much, but over the course of a year, a habit, a mindset, or a skill compounded daily can transform a person completely. The problem is, most people overlook the small steps because they don't produce instant results. They meditate once and feel nothing. They go to the gym for a week and see no change. They read for a few days and wonder why their life still feels the same. So they quit. They abandon the process before the rewards begin to reveal themselves. What they don't realize is that every action is a seed, and seeds take time to sprout. You don't dig up the soil every day to check if the roots are growing. You water it, you nurture it, and you trust the process. Every time you choose to read instead of scroll, you are laying a brick. Every time you say no to a bad habit and yes to a better one, you are reinforcing your foundation. Every time you go to bed on time, show up on time, or speak with integrity, you are casting a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. It doesn't feel revolutionary in the moment, but give it time, because discipline has a compounding effect. Growth has a compounding effect. Tiny shifts create tidal waves not overnight, but over time. Consider a plane that shifts its course by just a few degrees. It won't seem like much at takeoff, but travel far enough, and it ends up in a completely different destination. That's how our habits work. That's how our choices shape our lives. One small adjustment in your daily routine, waking up earlier, journaling your thoughts, Listening to something educational instead of something entertaining doesn't feel like much. But those little shifts, practiced over weeks and months, pull you further and further away from the person you were and closer to the person you're meant to be. The challenge, though, is consistency. Most people can be disciplined for a day. Some can hold on for a week. Fewer still push through a month. But the rare individuals who decide to keep showing up, to keep improving even when no one notices, to keep working even when the results are slow, they eventually arrive at places others only dream of. They aren't more talented. They aren't more gifted. They simply understand the value of small improvements, and they've learned to trust the process. You don't need to leap forward in life. You just need to step forward every single day, one good choice after another, one disciplined decision after another, one refusal to give up, repeated again and again. That's how growth happens. It's not about flipping your life upside down in 1 week. It's about doing the right thing today, then doing it again tomorrow. And the next day, the world is full of people chasing fast results. They want to skip the steps. They want the reward without the routine. But what they don't realize is that the reward is built in the routine. It's in the boring repetition. It's in the quiet commitment. It's in the invisible hours. Nobody celebrates the early mornings, the skipped temptations, or the sacrifices made in private. But that's where the magic is. That's where the transformation takes root. By the time the world notices, the change has already happened. And it didn't happen in one explosion of effort. It happened in the dozens of small choices that nobody saw, that nobody praised, that nobody believed would matter, but they did. You must learn to fall in love with the process, not the outcome, because the outcome is just a byproduct, a reflection, a mirror. If you chase results without embracing the habits that create them, you'll always feel frustrated. But if you commit to improving just a little bit every day, if you decide that progress, no matter how small, is your goal, then you are guaranteed to grow. You are guaranteed to rise. You don't have to overhaul your life in 1 day. You just have to be better than yesterday. And when you do that long enough, you look back one day and realize you're not the same person anymore. You've grown, you've changed, you've built something real, something lasting, something strong, and it all started with something small. A person's life is always a reflection of their self-image. It's not about what happens to you, it's about what happens within you. You can plant the most powerful ideas, surround yourself with the best resources, and even get close to the right people. But if your internal identity is not ready to support growth, you will sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. The outside world may open doors, but it is your inside world that decides whether you walk through them with confidence or hesitate with fear. The greatest limitations are not found in circumstances. They are found in identity. If you see yourself as average, you will live below your potential even when you have talent. If you see yourself as unworthy, you'll reject the very blessings life tries to hand you. If you see yourself as stuck, you'll never even try to move forward. It's not the environment that creates lasting change. It's the belief system operating within the person. People don't perform according to what they know. They perform according to who they believe they are. And until your self-concept rises, your results will always sink. You cannot outperform your own belief about what you're capable of. That's the ceiling, that's the cap. It doesn't matter how many opportunities surround you, how many books you've read, or how many courses you've taken. If your internal thermostat is set to struggle, you will always find a way to bring your life back down to the level your identity accepts. Some people get a promotion and then start slacking. Why? Because success doesn't match their internal narrative. Others get into a healthy relationship and then begin pushing their partner away. Why? Because love doesn't fit the identity they've built over years of rejection. Life may give them more, but their identity quietly says, "This isn't who I am," and they return to the familiar. This subconscious mind is always working to prove you right about who you think you are. If you believe you're destined to fail, you'll overlook the solutions right in front of you. If you see yourself as poor, you'll reject ideas that could create wealth, not because you're incapable, but because your identity doesn't allow you to receive success. This is why some people repeat the same patterns year after year. It's not because they're cursed. It's because they've never stopped to ask the deeper question, who do I believe I am, and is that belief serving me? If you want to grow, you have to grow your identity. Not just your knowledge or your skills, but your view of yourself. Start seeing yourself as a leader, even before anyone follows. Start viewing yourself as valuable, even before you get paid what you're worth. Start identifying as someone disciplined, even if you failed to follow through before. You're not faking it. You're upgrading it. You're rewriting the story not to deceive yourself, but to align with the version of you that your future needs. This isn't about arrogance or ego, it's about alignment. When your inner world aligns with the future you want to create, everything becomes possible. But when your self-image is stuck in your past, your results stay there too. You have to break free from labels that were put on you. By teachers, by parents, by society, even by your younger self. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not your current circumstances. You are who you choose to become, and that choice begins in the mind. Growth requires shedding. Just like a snake sheds its skin, you have to let go of the old identity to make room for the new one. That means being willing to step into unfamiliar territory, not just physically, but mentally. It means speaking differently, thinking differently, walking differently, not for show, but because you're becoming someone new. It means surrounding yourself with people who see your potential, not just your problems. But even more importantly, it means being the first one to see it in yourself. You can be in the best environment, with all the right conditions, and still feel small if your identity hasn't caught up. That's why some people change cities, jobs, or relationships hoping to feel different, but they end up recreating the same life, just in a new location. Because the problem wasn't the environment, it was the identity. The roots were still the same, and so the fruit remained unchanged. Everything external in your life is shaped by what's internal. Your actions follow your beliefs. Your habits follow your self-concept. Your results follow your patterns, and those patterns are rooted in identity. If you truly want to transform your environment, your finances, your health, your relationships, it starts with how you see you. The real work is not in changing everything around you. The real work is in becoming someone new inside of you. When that changes, everything else follows. The environment begins to match the new identity, not the old limitations. And life finally starts to rise to the level you've always been capable of, but never allowed yourself to fully see. One of the most common illusions people fall into is the idea that they must wait until they feel fully ready to take action. They wait for clarity, for confidence, for courage. They wait until everything lines up just right, the perfect mood, the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity. But life doesn't operate on your timing. Life doesn't hand you permission slips. It sends you moments, often disguised as problems or inconveniences, and it asks one question: are you prepared? Not are you ready, but are you prepared? Because being ready is a feeling. Being prepared is a decision. You'll never feel completely ready to step into the unknown. That hesitation, that discomfort, that fear of failure, it's part of the process. But those who rise to meet opportunity are rarely those who felt ready. They are those who got prepared. They studied while others slept. They trained when no one was watching. They practiced consistency when it would have been easier to procrastinate. And because of that preparation, they could step forward with strength, even in uncertainty. Preparation is what separates those who react from those who respond. When something unexpected happens, most people panic or retreat. But those who have been preparing in silence don't get thrown off balance. They may not have all the answers, but they have the structure, the discipline, and the confidence built through years of small daily decisions. They don't wait for life to hand them the perfect script. They write their own. In the morning routines they keep, the thoughts they train, the habits they build when nobody's clapping. It's easy to look at someone successful and assume they got lucky, that everything lined up for them. But what you don't see are the months or years they spent preparing. You don't see the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, the self-doubt they pushed through, or the consistency they maintained when no one cared. The public reward is always preceded by private preparation. It's in the moments where nobody notices that character is forged. And that character is what gets tested when opportunity shows up dressed like hard work. Waiting to feel ready is one of the most destructive habits a person can develop. It convinces you that someday you'll feel different. Someday you'll be motivated. Someday the fear will be gone. But that day never comes, not fully. Growth requires risk. Action requires uncertainty. Confidence is not the starting point. It's the reward. It comes after you take the step, not before. The path to anything worthwhile is filled with questions, but the person who has prepared doesn't need to have it all figured out. They just need to know who they are, what they stand for, and what they've built within themselves. You prepare by saying yes to discomfort in private, so you can handle pressure in public. You prepare by showing up to your commitments, even when nobody is holding you accountable. You prepare by learning the skills that may not be needed today, but will become essential tomorrow. You prepare by creating systems that keep you disciplined even when your motivation drops. And you prepare by becoming the kind of person your future success requires. Not someday, not later, but today, right now. The world doesn't wait for you to feel ready. Opportunities don't pause while you build up the nerve. If you don't prepare, you miss them, and once they pass, they rarely return the same way. That's why it's not about speed, it's about strategy. It's not about ambition, it's about alignment. Are you doing the inner work? Are you growing your capacity? Are you expanding your mindset and sharpening your focus so that when the moment comes, you don't flinch? Some people wait for certainty their entire life and die with their potential still locked inside them. Others understand that certainty is a myth. What's real is preparation. What's real is the discipline to do the hard things today so you can handle the harder things tomorrow. You won't rise to the level of your goals. You'll fall to the level of your training. So train your mind. Train your habits. Train your focus. And when the moment arrives, and it will, you won't need to be perfect. You'll just need to be prepared, because it's not the most talented person who wins. It's the most prepared person. It's the one who stayed up studying when everyone else was entertained. The one who said no to distractions so they could say yes to purpose. The one who chose to build even when nothing seemed to be happening. And when life opens that door, when opportunity finally knocks, they don't shrink. They don't delay. They don't ask, why me? They answer the call not because they were ready, but because they prepared for this moment long before it ever arrived. Everything you want in life, success, growth, fulfillment, peace, it doesn't begin out there. It begins in you. Before the breakthrough comes the internal work. Before the success comes the discipline. Before the change shows up in your world, it must first show up in your identity. You don't build a better life by chance. You build it by choice. The choice to upgrade your mindset, your habits, your routines, your values, and your vision. You are the foundation, and every result is simply a reflection of that foundation. Don't spend your life working harder on things that can be taken from you, while ignoring the one thing that can't, you. Your job might change, your circumstances might shift, but who you become, that stays. And when you work harder on yourself than anything else, everything else begins to rise. Growth isn't about giant leaps. It's about daily decisions, small improvements, consistent preparation, and the courage to say, I may not feel ready, but I've prepared for this. The future belongs to those who decide to lead themselves first, not tomorrow, not when the timing feels right. But now, upgrade you first, and the life you desire won't be far behind.